I think the hair analysis was done and there was nothing.
If they are able to accomplish this, it will be a first and it will be groundbreaking.
I don't think anybody's here ready to say it's one guy, it's 10 guys. Did he have help?
6 months in, one piece of evidence just went to zero. Another piece is being called a potential first in forensic history, and the sheriff still won't say whether one man did this or 10. In under 2 minutes of network news, ABC packed in more forensic complexity than most true crime specials manage in an hour. Let's go through what's really behind each of these 3 claims. I'm Marcus Wren, and I built the Tell Index to analyze statements and behavior in criminal cases. 6 months after Nancy Guthrie, 84, mother of Today co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, vanished from her Tucson, Arizona home in the early hours of February 1st, 2026, today's video breaks down a short ABC World News Tonight segment from July 30th, reported by Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky, barely over 90 seconds, but packed with 3 separate claims from Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, worth taking apart one at a time. Hit subscribe if you want to see more analysis like this. Right after the anchor introduces the report, Katersky delivers the first update.
Tonight, ABC News has learned investigators searching for the man who abducted Nancy Guthrie are ruling out one of the forensic clues retrieved from her Tucson area home. They finished testing hair, and Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told us today it does not point to a suspect.
I think the hair analysis was done and there was nothing.
5 words carry a lot of weight here. There was nothing. It sounds final, but it's worth being precise about what kind of nothing this actually is, because there are 2 completely different failure modes hiding under that one phrase, and true crime audiences have strong reason to assume the wrong one. Nanos is describing an attempt to extract DNA from the hair itself, not a microscope comparison. That only works if the hair still has its root in freshly pulled. A shed hair, the kind most commonly found at a scene, usually doesn't, and rarely carries enough DNA for a profile. There was nothing most likely just means this particular hair was never going to produce a result in the first place. Not that it was tested against someone and ruled out. Cross-checking this against how the case's own coverage described the same result. ABC News's own headline framed it as the hair not linked to a suspect. CBS News called the identical result inconclusive, and U.S. Magazine's headline stated flatly the hair didn't contain any DNA. 3 different characterizations of one lab result, published the same day, from the same sheriff's comments. Nanos himself, in a separate interview with Fox News Digital that same week, added a detail this ABC segment didn't include. Does that mean the hair isn't that of the suspect? We won't know that till we have the suspect's hair. You don't just destroy it, meaning the sample itself is preserved for future comparison, not discarded as worthless, which is a materially different picture than there was nothing suggests on its own. Katersky continues directly from the hair result into the case's one remaining piece of biological evidence.
That leaves a mixed sample of DNA as the only potential piece of biological evidence left. The sheriff said they're working to untangle a mix of DNA from as many as 4 people.
My understanding is there's at least 5, maybe 6 labs across the country that are working on all of this.
And they are using genetic genealogy.
You're looking at millions of genetic markers, trying to determine which ones belong to each of those individuals. If they are able to accomplish this, it will be a first and it will be groundbreaking.
Start with the number itself, because it's gotten worse over time, not better. When Nanos first disclosed mixed DNA from the home back on February 20th, he told NBC News only that the sample was mixed and that his lab was seeing challenges. Genetic genealogist C.C. Moore, chief genealogist at Parabon Nano Labs, said at the time that investigators already knew it involved more than 2 contributors. By the time of this July segment, that number has grown to as many as 4, and Moore's own reaction to that specific figure given to News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas reports the same week was blunt. It is disappointing to hear that it's 4 or more people that is going to make it extremely difficult. Here's why it's this hard. CODIS, the FBI's national database, only matches on 20 fixed DNA points, called STR markers. Genetic genealogy works completely differently. It scans hundreds of thousands of points across the genome, SNPs. The same technology behind kits like 23andMe or Ancestry DNA, then checks it against 2 of the only genealogy databases open to police, GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA. The catch: this method really only works on one person's DNA, or at most 2 people where one clearly dominates the sample, say 80-20. Lab director Susanna Ryan told CBS News that if that ratio flips or more people get added in, a lab usually can't do much with it. Nobody has ever cleanly separated a 4-person mixture well enough to run it through genealogy search. That's why Nanos calling this a potential first and groundbreaking isn't spin. It's an accurate read of where the science actually stands. To see just how different this case is, Brian Kohberger, convicted of killing 4 Idaho students, was identified through genetic genealogy, but from one person's DNA on a knife sheath, not 4 people mixed together. That's the kind of sample this technique has actually solved. Guthrie's sample is a much harder problem from the start. The report closes on the case's most basic unanswered question.
6 months after Guthrie was taken from her home, the sheriff is unable to say whether that masked man was working alone.
I don't think anybody's here ready to say it's 1 guy, it's 10 guys. Did he have help? Could have.
Make the right choice. Help us find her.
Just this week, Savannah Guthrie begged for her mother's kidnapper to do the right thing.
Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing.
The sheriff told us he still believes this case is solvable, but he could offer no timeline.
Could have commits to nothing and rules out nothing, normal for a genuinely unresolved question. What's worth noting is the week Nanos said it, his own credibility was under pressure from 2 directions at once. First, just a day earlier, per NBC News and the New York Post, Nanos publicly disputed FBI Director Kash Patel's claim that the FBI was kept out of the investigation for its first 4 days, calling it misinformed and insisting agents were there day 1. Second, filed the same week. Attorneys for Carlos Palazuelos, held at gunpoint for 7 to 8 hours in Rio Rico on February 10th, and Daniel Maddox, handcuffed the same day while his mother's home was searched, filed a notice of claim against Nanos seeking $3.25 million combined, because 6 months later, his department has never publicly cleared either man. None of this proves wrongdoing. A department can genuinely not know how many people were involved. But it's worth noting once, saying could have about the case's most basic fact. The same week you're disputing the FBI director and facing a $3.25 million claim over 2 men never publicly cleared shows how much less certainty exists behind the scenes than the public reassurance suggests. One last detail, Savannah's July 27th plea repeats, almost word for word, a line she first used February 15th. It is never too late to do the right thing. 5.5 months in, with a hair sample that came back empty and a DNA mixture that grew from more than 2 contributors to as many as 4. The one thing that hasn't changed is the sentence asking a stranger to change his mind. A hair result at 0. A DNA claim that's genuinely unprecedented, and a could have landing the exact same week the sheriff was disputing the FBI director and facing a $3.25 million claim. Which point surprised you most? Comment below. I read everyone. Subscribe for more analysis like this.